Afternoon, everybody. It's Tuesday afternoon at 2. Welcome to this week's Foundations Live. We're going to be talking about competency frameworks. Good to see so many of you joining us this afternoon. Just got a few through intros before we start. So if you haven't joined us before, we're Foundations, with the national body for home improvement agencies and the Disabled Facilities Grant in England. And we're funded by the Ministry of Housing, Communities and Local Governments. We're here to support you with anything related to disabled facilities grants and home improvement agencies. And if you're looking for closed captions this afternoon, you can find them on LinkedIn, Facebook, and on YouTube. If you're currently watching on the website, just scroll down a little bit and you'll find the links to all of those. So, as said, today we're looking at competency frameworks. So in a couple of minutes' time, I'm going to introduce Rachel Russell, who's been working on competency frameworks for Trusted Assessors and kind of explaining how they work and also how they will then be expanded for kind of housing OTs and specialist OTs. And then I'll be talking about the Building Safety Act and then what that means in terms of competency frameworks for technical officers and basically anybody else who's doing home adaptations where building regulation approval is required. And then we'll go through a couple of other bits and pieces and probably round up about 3 o'clock, and I'll go through what other editions of Foundations Live we've got coming up over the next 2, 3, 4 weeks. Got quite a few coming up, so stay to the end, you'll hear all about those. But as I said, today's all about competency frameworks, and the first one I'm going to look at is around Trusted Assessors. And we can start to work on a competency framework, I think, because it's quite a new role, and it kind of sits in between and alongside other professions, other services, other skills. And we wanted to make sure that we set out what it means to be a competent trusted assessor and be able to assess for DFGs, and differentiating that from kind of OTs and others who may also do assessments. But we're then going to be broadening that out into other roles as well. So very much the place where we thought was best to start was around trusted assessors. So that's where we're going to start.
Foundations Live.
There we go. So welcome to Rachel, who's developed the Trusted Assessor Competency Framework, and I will hand over to Rachel to take us through it.
Yeah, thank you, Paul. Yeah, so I'm just going to take you through some of the work that we've been doing over the last year or so, developing the competency framework. Just take you through the journey that we've been on. I think one of the dilemmas that we had was let me just add. Oh, thank you. Yeah, just was around actually what to call it. Obviously, we are calling it Trusted Assessor, but just to kind of explain the dilemma that we had was, if we think about the Housing Grants Construction Regeneration Act, so that's the image, that's my moth-eaten copy of my legislation on the right-hand side there. If you actually look at the legislation and the original intent, so obviously the legislation was written 29 years ago, but the original intent of the legislation was that the applicant would actually approach the housing authority to apply for the works, the adaptations that they were wanting. And then obviously, as part of the housing authority's duties in determining eligible works, then there was that decision around, well, are the works necessary and appropriate, reasonable, practicable? And as we know in the legislation, this is where we get that phrase around housing consulting with social care around necessary and appropriate. And that's because social care and specifically occupational therapists have that expertise around understanding how the design of people's homes influences how well or how not so well people are able to do those everyday activities, can work with our technical officer housing colleagues to ensure that any adaptations are necessary and appropriate. So that's where we get that custom and practice around social care getting involved with the assessment. Now, over 30 years, the custom and practice has been that people don't go to the housing authority in the first instance. Actually, what they do is they go through that social care front door. So this is what we tend to see in the majority of local authorities across England. There are some exceptions where people do go to housing, but in the majority of local authorities that certainly we work with, then actually social care has actually become the gatekeeper to people applying for adaptations and not the consultee. What happens then is, if you look at this image on the right hand side, is housing then has to wait for that social care assessment, or the applicant has to wait for that social care assessment. And we know in a lot of areas there can be a significant wait, particularly where people have more simpler needs, perhaps at less risk of waiting. So what we call at foundations the little Mrs. Russells, who perhaps just need a bathing assessment. So it's often those people that end up waiting for a significant amount of time for that assessment. Then once that assessment happens, then often they can then wait in housing for the application to be picked up. So what we tend to find is, actually over the last 30 years, custom and practice has overridden the original legislation, so that social care becomes the gatekeeper. But actually, when you look at the legislation, actually social care OTs are the trusted assessors, because it's housing that is trusting that assessment to social care to carry out. So that's why we've just struggled with it. We are sticking with the name of Trusted Assessor. Now, I know we've got a number of OTs in the audience. That's not to say that we want to change things drastically. We do recognise, I am an occupational therapist myself, very passionate OT, because we recognise there are real benefits for occupational therapists, particularly involved in the more complex cases, because we can bring those specialist assessment skills. We work in a strength-based way. So for housing, you know that when you get a referral from an occupational therapist to say, look, I think this person could be eligible to apply for a DFG, what you can be reassured of is that the occupational therapist has worked in a strength-based way, so that they've looked at whether the person just needs to change the way they're doing the activity, whether there are any alternative equipment, assistive technology, any minor adaptations, so that you know that piece of work has been done, protecting the DFG for those individuals that do need that. Obviously, as occupational therapists, we are a registered profession as well, so that you know that you're dealing with practitioners that have got those high standards and accountability. And what occupational therapists in social care can do really well, and what we've seen in other areas that have got really good trusted assessor models, is those occupational therapists can support non-specialist social care assessors, those practitioners, perhaps caseworkers, technical officers, who are perhaps doing some of the assessments around necessary and appropriate. And OTs in social care can be a fantastic resource for supporting those non-specialist social care assessors. So we are sticking with the name Trusted Assessor, but it's just about, I think, it's just about being aware that actually around that relationship between housing and social care in terms of the DFG process. So why have we focused on non-specialist assessors? We know from the Bath Out 2 study that home adaptations, when we get them installed in a timely manner, can really support people and transform lives and really promote independence. But as I say, we need to get those adaptations in quickly, because the longer people wait, the more likely there's likely to be an adverse event, or they're less likely to gain the benefits from having the home adapted. So we do need to think about new pathways to provide quicker access to those simpler DFG applications, so that the stair lifts, the ramps, the wet rooms. So we need new pathways to do things differently, and obviously having trusted assessors is that mechanism that will support newer pathways, so that perhaps we don't have to wait for people to sit unnecessarily on social care waiting lists. So it's about using the expertise that we have already got in the DFG process. We've got really skilled and experienced technical officers. We've got brilliant and experienced and skilled caseworkers as well, that already bring their expertise, already supporting the determination of eligible works. And what we're saying with trusted assessor training, based on a really good competency framework, that we can help those practitioners gain the skills and knowledge to confidently carry out those assessments around what is necessary and appropriate. And what we've done is develop some real clear competency standards, so that people feel confident that when they go through the trusted assessor training, based on the competencies, that they have got those skills and knowledge, and to be able to carry out those assessments around necessary and appropriate. So who we see the trusted assessor being, I've already mentioned caseworkers and technical officers. The framework is also really useful for new social care staff coming into the world of social care, who are going to be recommending DFG, so again that they have that understanding. So those are who we are seeing this competency framework being for. So just in terms of development, just to give you some reassurance, it's taken us quite a while to develop the competency framework, and we've liaised with a number of occupational therapists. I think we've got James Hallard on in the virtual room, who's given us feedback as well. So we have liaised with a number of relevant people to give us feedback on the framework. There is a QR code up in the corner, which I'm assuming if you click on that or shine your phone at that, will take you through to the competency framework, which is now on the website. So as I go through this, you can have a look at it in a bit more detail. So we've, with the feedback, we've structured the framework into two parts. There are core competencies, skills and knowledge that influence the whole of the DFG process. And then part two of the competency framework are three very specific stages of the adaptations process. So we have extended it slightly beyond just assessment, to also include the stage of recommending and supporting the design of the adaptation, as well as the review and handover as well. So yeah, framework is in two parts. So core competencies that a person needs to demonstrate throughout the DFG process, and then some very specific competencies around assessment, recommendation, review and handover. So what I'm going to do, I'm not going to show you the full framework. You can look at that on the website, but I'll just show you some examples of some of the specific competencies. So as you can see, it's divided into the knowledge that we expect, the skills, as well as the behaviour we would expect to be demonstrated. And this one is for core competency A, which is around professional communication and person-centred practice. So you've got things like, in terms of knowledge, aware of cultural and personal factors that are going to impact on the decision, and including existing resources and support network. In terms of skills, you expect somebody to have the skill around as you can see there, the second one, demonstrating respect for the individual, dignity and autonomy, acknowledging personal strengths and capabilities. And then in terms of behaviour around professional communication, you would expect behaviours around people maintaining non-judgmental approaches towards personal choices. So that's what the core competency for A looks like. And then this is the one for B, which is around professional boundaries. So knowing when to hand over a case, and also around collaborative working. DFG is collaborative working is so critical for effective assessment design of adaptation. So as you can see there again, you've got the knowledge, the various knowledge that we would expect for professional boundaries, collaborative working, the skills you'd expect, so communicates clearly and professionally with colleagues across disciplines, and then behaviours. So you've got an example there about maintaining open and responsive communication with colleagues. And then I think this one is just, as you remember, it's split into two parts. So this is stage one, which focuses on the assessment element, and what you can see there again are the knowledge, skills and behaviours that expect. So what you would expect for a trusted assessor in terms of knowledge, in terms of PEO assessment, is a basic understanding of common health conditions and how they impact on occupations, how they impact on those everyday activities people want, need and have to do. You've got the skills there, so applies that strength-based principles when conducting the assessment, so thinking about what it is the person wants to do. And then you've got the behaviours there, so you'd expect demonstrating respect when observing daily activities, recognising people's skills and knowledge. So it's not just about thinking about the competency framework, not just thinking about how the competency framework supports training, but it's also about how you implement a trusted assessor program as well. So we worked with Claire Barber a couple of years ago, Claire from TACT, and she's written this Implementing a Successful Trusted Assessor program that we've built on as well, which just talks about that it's not just about the training, it's supporting that change management. So how you bring your team with you as you look at implementing a trusted assessor program, how you implement that collaboration and the different pathways that you need to support that trusted assessor process. Talks about the training support you would expect, and how from a senior leadership perspective you do that review and monitoring of your trusted assessor bits. If anybody is thinking about doing trusted assessor, bringing in a trusted assessor program, please get in contact with us, get in contact with your regional advisor, because we'd be more than delighted to talk about how we can support you to do that. Paul's alluded to that at the moment where we've focused on trusted assessor, so those simpler adaptations, but we have also developed a framework for experienced practitioners. So those are kind of probably social care OTs with a bit of experience that are dealing with the full range of cases that might be supporting trusted assessors, as well as the more specialist practitioners. So those might be occupational therapists with very specialist knowledge, perhaps around behaviours of concern, that deal with the really complex cases and provide that professional leadership as well. So those competency frameworks for those two types of practitioners, the experienced practitioner and the specialist practitioners, will be coming shortly. And this just gives you a feel for what that looks like. So this is Competency C, which is around legislation and funding. And as you can see, the knowledge, can't find the word, but as you can see, you've got trusted assessor with kind of that basic understanding, what you would then expect an experienced practitioner to have in terms of knowledge around legislation and funding. And then this final column is what you would expect the advanced practitioner. So it kind of builds in terms of expertise there. So that just gives you a little bit of a feel for what that will look like when we publish those frameworks for experienced practitioner and specialist practitioner as well. And I think that's it. Yeah, so the final thoughts is what the reason that we've done this is, for us at Foundations, it's about how we support people to get the adaptations as quickly as possible, how we can support you as a sector to develop those pathways, which we know are already happening out there. But hopefully we think the competency framework will give you that assurance around what we would expect the skills and knowledge and behaviours of those staff to be. It will then help you use your workforce. Your technical officer and caseworkers have already got those excellent skills, and just building a little bit more on what they're doing so that they can deal with those more simpler ones. We hope that we try to do it so it really spells out what we expect from everybody, and that everybody understands what their role is, help support those relationships, those collaborative relationships that we need in terms of the DFG process. And ultimately we have developed it in a person-centered way, in a family-centered way, so that people get the support that they need. So yeah, hopefully that's been a useful whistle-stop tour of the competency framework. So I'll hand back to Paul.
Foundations Live.
Thank you, Rachel. We've had a couple of questions come through. So I suppose more of a comment from James that it's going to help principal OTs and service managers to communicate the level of knowledge needed in these areas as well. Because I think kind of when we've been developing them, we thought that they'd be really helpful for things like job descriptions as well as kind of the basis.
Yeah, role profiles, those kind of things. Yeah.
And Jenny was asking about trusted assessors working in children's services.
Oh, that's a good one. I guess so I was involved in writing with adaptations without delay, and we always kind of said with the children's one, they do tend to be more complex cases, but that's not to say where perhaps you've got more simpler cases that the competencies wouldn't be relevant. But again, I think when you read the competencies, because it's about because obviously one is around the PEO, but it's whether actually it covers those more complex children's cases. Certainly the specialist one would cover more the kind of skills and knowledge that you would expect for an assessor for working with children.
Yeah, but tend to be more complicated, don't they?
Yeah.
And when we were doing the recent roadshows, we did have another session looking at high cost and kind of complex adaptations, and I'm sure we'll be revisiting that at Foundations Live in the future for those of you couldn't.
Because I think the thing is, isn't it? It's not always the adaptation that is being requested that is complex, and this is what the argument that we made in adaptations without delay is. It's the person's situation, and what you tend to find with children is that you are dealing with children with more complex needs, where you've got a number of services involved, where they're probably still going through some of the diagnostic bits and pieces. So which makes those situations more complex rather than just the adaptation.
Yeah. And then Pip was asking about who provides the supervision for trusted assessors.
So it's somebody with the appropriate skills and knowledge. So usually would be an occupational therapist that has ideally, if we're talking about DFG, you would hope to think in terms of that collaboration. There would be some opportunity to collaborate with social care colleagues. I appreciate that that's not always the case in some local authorities, but you need somebody that has got the competency to carry out that that level of supervision.
Yeah, and as we're going on to in a second, kind of part of the training is to kind of recognise cases that that you can't actually handle as a trusted assessor. So, in a second, Tracy will be talking about trusted assessor training, and so Rebecca also asked about how to demonstrate the competence in these areas, and we're talking about that in a few minutes as well, Rebecca. So that's a very nice lead in. So thank you for now, Rachel. We'll come back to you in a little while to talk about next week's show as well. Thank you.
Yeah.
Foundations Live.
Right, let me tidy up the screen here. There we go. Lots of buttons to press this afternoon. So now what I'm going to talk you through is, if I can find the right thing to share. Ooh. There we go. So talk about the Trusted DFG Assessor training that we've developed working with the OT service. That's very much built along the principles of the competency framework that Rachel's just outlined to you. And it's based very much on what we talk about in the introduction to DFG training, which if you've done the course, you'll recognise this slide. And particularly the eligible works, which are kind of the key bit that you want a trusted assessor to be able to establish. Eligible works are always based on two-stage test of meeting one of the 12 purposes that a DFG can be awarded for, and then specifically whether the works are necessary and appropriate in the circumstances, which traditionally, and I think there's probably still quite a few local authorities have this view, is that it's kind of social care or the OT's role to decide what is necessary and appropriate, and the housing team's role to decide what was reasonable and practicable. But there was some case law from a judicial review probably about 3 years ago now.
Our survey said
that said that actually wasn't the case, and that social care are a consultee to the decision around necessary and appropriate. But because reasonable and practicable only applies to the age and condition of the dwelling, so unless the property is either old and or in really poor condition, then you can't refuse a grant based on reasonable and practicable for any other reason. So that makes necessary and appropriate obviously the main consideration when you're looking at whether you would award a grant or not. And there are housing elements to that, as well as what was perhaps seen as the social care or OT assessment. And a key reason that we've spent some time focusing and developing the competency frameworks and trusted DFG assessor training is that in many areas there are significant waiting lists for adult social care, which quite often includes OT assessments and people looking for DFGs, when in actual fact, if they just need something like a shower, a stair lift or a ramp, may not need any other social care services and could be diverted from the social care waiting list, go directly to the DFG team or the housing team and be assessed there by a trusted assessor, which helps both the person, because they're not waiting for as long, and helps the kind of social care system to kind of streamline some of these cases through. So, as Rachel was saying, was very much seeing housing staff as being trusted assessors, because not every case needs an OT, and that housing staff can be trained as trusted DFG assessors to do the necessary and appropriate element for straightforward cases. It's based on the clear competency framework that Rachel set out, and we focus it on simple adaptations, or what generally simple adaptations, and kind of the most common adaptations: bathroom ramps and stair lifts, so that it reduces waiting times and frees up OTs for the more complex cases. Safeguards, key part of the training is that it's always done within agreed limits. It's under OT supervision. that there's ongoing training and support, which I'll mention in a moment, and that OTs remain central for complex needs or where there's safeguarding concerns. So when do you use a trusted DFG assessor? Well, we do have a triage tool for that, and it's something we developed probably 3 or 4 years ago now, and there are a number of local authorities that already use this tool. It's clicking on quicker than I expect this afternoon. But so the triage tool itself is based on these 4 relatively straightforward questions. And then this is the tool itself, which is available on our website if you want to have a play with it. And you basically click through and choose 1 of 3 answers for each of the 4 questions. So there we go. You can pick the appropriate answers. And then for this particular case, you can see it's appropriate for a trusted assessor to look at. So if you're kind of interested in how you might apply it in practice, that there are a number of local authorities that are currently using this approach. And this is what a process might look like for a caseworker who is trained as a trusted DFG assessor. So they would receive an inquiry from a member of the public, maybe diverted away from the social care waiting list. The case is triaged, as you've just seen. It's found to be suitable for a trusted assessor, who can then call the applicant, make the appointment, go and visit them, assess what the person can do, look at the environment and the spaces that need to be adapted, and talk through the options about what might work. Agree what those would be to include in the application, and during the same visit, go through the application forms and means testing, and then potentially pass on to a surveyor or contractor to handle the kind of technical elements of the case. And as I kind of said, that we've focused it very much on bathroom, stair lifts and ramps, so that the course itself looks at how you would assess in practice for these 3 key elements of kind of the DFG program. They're both far the most common, have the biggest impact on daily life. There are clear standard solutions for all of these, and it's all about speeding up delivery and freeing up OT expertise for those complex cases. But it's not just about the training. So as kind of Rachel was saying, just to re-emphasize, we're not just saying that somebody can do a 2-day training course and then be ready to set out and do all the assessments that would otherwise be done by others. So one of the key things that we've developed, I think Rebecca asked about this earlier, how you can manage your kind of competencies and the evidence that you collate for those competencies. We're going to be offering CPD Me, which I'll show you a quick video on in a second. But for anyone doing our training, and we're just kind of setting it up and hoping to launch it early in the new year, we will offer free membership of CPD Me, where you can record, or the competencies will be set up on the system, and you will be able to record things like coming to Foundations Live today or any of our training courses. At almost a click of a button, you'll be able to add that evidence to your CPD record. So here's Andrew from CPD Me, who's going to explain a little bit more about it.
Hi, my name's Andrew and I'm the founder and the innovation director here behind CPD Me, and I'm pretty excited to announce that we are, fingers crossed, putting a partnership together with Foundations to make recording your CPD simple. So at the heart of what we do here at CPD Me is make all of your CPD, whether that's conferences, events, learning, supervision, whatever that might be, simple by allowing it to be recorded on our platform so that you can produce a perfectly polished CPD portfolio. Lots of other fantastic features such as recording diary entries, uploading evidence, reflective practice, supervision tools, along with an amazing learning library. So all of these things we are going to bring together to you as part of Foundations. This system will revolutionize the way that you think about CPD, but more importantly, it will make recording your CPD really, really easy. And I give you that promise. We've got an amazing mobile app and an amazing dashboard that we're going to integrate into the Foundation platform. And this will literally make your CPD simple. Thank you for your time. If you have any questions, you're more than welcome to fire them to me at andrew@cpdme.com, and I'll try and answer as many as I can for you. Look forward to this exciting new collaboration, and I'm sure the team here at Foundations will be telling you about some of the features that will be coming to you soon.
Great, thank you, Andrew. Lots more on that to come in the coming months. We're working hard on that at the moment, but it's not just about training. It's not just about the competency frameworks. It's also about supporting each other. So we're putting together a peer support network. So people who've been through the Trusted DFG Assessor training can then get access to a private online space where they can ask questions, share resources, swap ideas, and basically kind of provide peer support for each other across the country. And we'll have regular quarterly update sessions where we'll provide information on latest guidance, policy and case examples, and have some CPD sessions from some of your favourite suppliers and manufacturers from across the sector. And that's free of charge as part of doing the Trusted DFG Assessor course for the first year. And that's one of our growing range of networks. So there's a whole range of other professional networks for caseworkers, technical officers, OTs, as well as communities of practice and regional networks for managers, which are all available once you've registered from the little icon at the bottom right of our website. And then networks itself looks like this. So it's fairly similar to kind of Teams or kind of Facebook or other kind of chat-based services, but it's a place where Trusted DFG Assessors will be able to get together and be supported by ourselves, the Foundations and the OT service. So courses are available now. It's a 2-day course. As I say, focuses on bathrooms, stair lifts and ramps. And we've got upcoming courses, as you can see, via the QR code on the top left or on the centre of the screen now. There's one coming up in Kent, and then another one I think is in Middlewich in the northwest. So whether you're south or north, there are 2 courses coming up before the end of the year.
Trusted DFG Assessor, helping people live at home. Trusted DFG Assessor, no one does it all alone. Trusted DFG Assessor.
There we go. That's one of the tracks off our new album, all about Trusted DFG Assessors. Right. Let's have a look at some of the comments. So while I'm looking through the comments, the next bit I wanted to talk about was the competency framework for technical officers, and why we've developed one for technical officers is very much based on the requirements of the Building Safety Act. And I've got somebody to talk about that for you. And how the Building Safety Act applies to disabled facilities grants. I'm Paul from Foundations, and in this video I'm going to explain everything you need to know. In response to the Grenfell Tower tragedy, the government introduced the Building Safety Act in 2022. The aim of the Act is to improve safety and accountability across the construction and management of buildings. It ensures that building safety is prioritised throughout the design, construction and occupation phases, and it makes duty holders accountable for compliance and robust safety standards. It applies to all building work where building regulations applies, and ensures safety measures are embedded in construction projects of all sizes. And in addition, there are stricter requirements for high-risk buildings, those over 18 metres or 7 stories high. Similar to the CDM regs, the Building Safety Act has 3 roles: client, designer and contractor. The role of the client is to appoint the designer and contractor, to ensure compliance and share information. The role of the designer is to produce compliant designs, coordinate with other designers and flag high-risk work. And the role of the contractor is to deliver compliant work, coordinate with the others and supervise workers on site. So how do these roles map onto the roles that we typically have in a DFG process, where we have an applicant or resident, a contractor and a local authority? So this can depend on the type of grant and the approach being taken. Is it a situation where the client is managing the process themselves, or is it a situation where the home improvement agency or local authority are taking on that role as an agent? So what matters is who is controlling the adaptations. If, as a local authority or a home improvement agency, you're in control of how the adaptations are done, then you take on the role of client under the Building Safety Act. So in most cases, as a local authority or home improvement agency, you'll have the role of both designer and client. So as I said, the Building Safety Act applies where building regulations apply. So what are the circumstances where building regulations apply for a typical disabled facilities grant project? So according to the Local Authority Building Control website, the majority of domestic like-for-like replacement kitchens or bathrooms won't need any form of building regulations approval. But if you're modifying the existing layout, then approval is likely to be needed. Here's a list of typical examples of where building regulations will or won't apply. In terms of a DFG case, if you're relocating a sink or other bathroom appliance, if you're fitting a new fan or replacing a door or window, then building regulations are likely to apply, and the Building Safety Act also applies. So one of the key roles of a client in the process is to ensure competency of both the designers and the contractors. So to ensure competency of a designer, you need to check relevant qualifications and professional memberships, check if they have experience in similar projects, ensure they've got professional indemnity insurance, and think about their ongoing CPD and training. For a contractor, you're going to want to look at trade certifications, that they have a proven track record, they have in public and employees liability insurance, up-to-date training, and membership of something like the Home Adaptations Installer Network. So as mentioned earlier, there are additional requirements for high-risk buildings, those buildings that are over 18 metres tall or 7 or more stories. So as I mentioned earlier, if the building is over 18 metres tall or more than 7 stories, it is deemed a high-risk building and you need to make an application to the Building Safety Regulator. Your local authority building control may still advise, but final approval goes to the regulator, who can consult a multidisciplinary team about your application. So what do you need to include in this application? There'll be detailed design specifications showing that you won't compromise safety, risk assessments, and evidence that both the contractor and designer are competent. You'll need to provide information about the building's construction, things like its height, materials and compartmentation, plus proof you've engaged the accountable person, which is usually the landlord or freeholder of the property. So what are the timescales? Officially, this should take 8 to 12 weeks, but in the real world can take 20 or more. So it's important that you keep this extended timeline as part of your project schedules and plan carefully and keep clients informed. So that was an overview of the Building Safety Act, and as you can see, one of the key elements of the Building Safety Act, whereas kind of a lot of it's thought to kind of focus, I think, on high-risk buildings, it actually applies to any building works where the where building regs apply, which is quite a lot of DFGs, particularly if you're rearranging bathrooms, for example, and using different connections to either kind of drainage or plumbing. So this is our website. So if you go to How We Help section, you can find competencies frameworks there. So this is the competency framework section. Got the Foundations Competencies logo. And we're starting off with Trusted DFG Assessors and Technical Officers, and there will be more coming soon for OTs, and we'll be looking at caseworkers and managers and other roles as we go forwards. But I will just show you what this looks like as a web page, so you can follow it yourself. So this is the one for Technical Officers. Competence matters primarily because of the Building Safety Act. And we've developed this particular framework so that it aligns with British Standard 8670, which is the kind of PAS competencies that link to the Building Safety Act. Also kind of very similar to CDM regs. So again, it's very similar to the framework that Rachel set out in terms of there are core competencies and then stage-specific competencies. So whereas for trusted assessors, stage 1 would be kind of primary stage where they're involved. For technical officers, it's more likely to be stage 2, which is the design and specification, and stage 4, which is works on site. So as you follow down, there are behavioural, technical, legislative, and management considerations. So core competency A's around behavioural issues. So things like knowledge around Building Safety Act, CDM, skills around sound judgment when balancing competing risks and priorities, and behaviour around kind of acting with integrity and accountability. Technical competencies, common construction types, adaptation products, key design considerations, skills, things like carrying out measured surveys, producing accurate drawings, considering the long-term usability, which is obviously a key element of CDM. Behaviour, for example, seeking specialist input when risks fall outside your personal competence. Section C is around legislative competence, things like the DFG, legislation, building regs, landlord and leaseholder permissions, how to explain legal duties to clients and colleagues, for example, is one of the skills. And then behaviour, for example, taking responsibility for ensuring all works is lawful and compliant, particularly if you're the designer. So they follow down with requirements around knowledge, skills, and behaviour for each section. And then for stage 2, again, kind of the knowledge, skills, and behaviours, you would have stage 2. And again, for stage 4, which is the works on site. And then at the end there, as kind of talked about in the video, a little bit around the additional competencies for high-risk buildings. And if you're designing or managing works in high-risk buildings as part of your application to the regulator, you do need to show that you're competent to design the works in those sort of buildings. So this helps you set all that out. And some suggestions on elements of evidence that you could use. And all this, as I said before, will be built into CPD-Me so that basically you can show you're competent, use it for professional development, and I suppose at the end of the day, ensure that safe, secure, properly designed adaptations are done for the people who need the service. So got a few other questions, so I'll bring back Rachel, who can help me with the answers. So got a question from Rebecca around RCOP members already get CPD membership, which Rachel's an RCOP member, which was where we kind of found out about CPD-Me. And we're meeting with CPD-Me again tomorrow and kind of ongoing. But our understanding is that you will be able to have these competency standards to your CPD membership, even if you have it through RCOT or even if you currently pay for it yourself.
So the way that he's explained it to me is, you just need your email address and password that you use, and it will sync with our stuff. So it's all accessible through your normal web login or
And we're trying to we're upgrading our website so that lots of things kind of hopefully with a click of a button or maybe 2 clicks of a button, you'll be able to add records directly to your CPD-Me membership. In terms of the Trusted DFG Assessor course, it's accredited by OCN. We work very closely with the OT service to ensure it was accredited by OCN, but I think probably more importantly that it was accredited by us and does what we think is required for robust DFG decisions. particularly around what is necessary and appropriate. So kind of OCN is, I suppose, kind of fairly generic standard, but we did work really hard with the OT service to make sure that it does do that job of making training people to do robust DFG assessments. So I think Jane was referring to the kind of peer support networks and whatever, because there's a cost for providing those. It's only available for people who, it's part of the package for people who do our trusted DFG assessor training on that one, Jane. And who is auditing the trusted DF or trusted assessors portfolios? I think that's part of your kind of supervision arrangements that Rachel was talking about. So ideally, if you've got kind of an OT somewhere in your local infrastructure or system, as part of that kind of supervision piece, they would be looking at the kind of portfolios as part of that. As kind of part of that day-to-day or month-to-month or week-to-week process. What were your thoughts on that, Rachel, in terms of?
I think it's all those things that you need to think about when you're setting up your trusted assessor model in your local authority. So those are that slide that I showed in terms of the kind of governance things. So those are the kind of conversations. It's not just about paying everybody to do the trusted assessor. It's about spending that kind of time planning who's going to do the monitoring of the standards and those bits and pieces. So that needs to be decided as you're setting up your trusted assessor model.
Yeah, and James was saying that TA could be an associate member of ARCOT.
I don't know the ins and outs of what that looks like in terms of an associate member, to be honest, for ARCOT. I'd have to look that up.
Okay, we can come back on that one.
Come back to that, yeah.
But Emma said she used CPD and it's very good. I think you're a big fan as well.
I love it. It's about getting into a routine with it. So I try to I try to do it every day, but every week try to go back through my diary and kind of look at what's been a learning opportunity. But it is fabulous. It is really good. Yeah.
Great. Okay, so James has put a few additional details in there. So we'll follow up on that. We'll follow up on that, James. Thank you. So I think we're coming to a close today. I think Dan's just putting the links into the chat for our upcoming training courses. If you didn't pick them up from the QR code earlier. A couple of other bits and pieces to just talk you through. So we've got more Foundations Lives coming up starting next Tuesday, where Rachel's doing a special Foundations Live for OT week. So what will we learn next week?
Really exciting. We've got OT, so this is the Royal College of OT week, so where we celebrate all things occupational therapy. It's around prevention this year, so we have got a fabulous special webinar this time next week, and we've got 3 brilliant speakers. We have got Philip and Miriam from Bath Out 2 to talk about their work, but excitingly to introduce you to their new piece of research. So they've got significant funding again from NIHR. And this time it's the bit before bathroom adaptations. It's around equipment that supports bathing and that evidence base. And the new project is going to be called Equip In. So Philip and Miriam are going to be talking about Bath Out 2 as well as the new project around prevention. We've got Jill Pritchard, that is a fabulous housing occupational therapist from Scotland, and she's talking about some of the preventative work that they've done around housing and adaptations up in Scotland, working alongside Vicky McCall, who is a professor up there that's done lots around adaptation. So she's going to come and talk around some of that preventative work. And then we've got Mary Howard, who's a principal occupational therapist in Wiltshire, who is just about to start a new pilot project that is taken on board the evidence base from Bath Out 2, the work that was done in adaptations without delay, to develop a kind of preventative pathway for adaptations for people with bathing needs, supported by DFG. So we've got those 3 fabulous speakers next week.
Great, thank you, Rachel. I will be joining you from the other side of the world. I'll be in Australia this time next week. We've got a very exciting business trip down under to meet lots of our Australian colleagues. So I'll be up at midnight, ready for Foundations Live this time next week. And then when I get back, we've got the annual webinar on cold and damp homes. That's on the 18th of November. And on the 2nd of December, we will be talking about how to design better adaptations with a range of resources on the 2nd of December. But just before that, we will be at the OT show. So if there's any of you at the OT show at the NEC at the end of November, both Rachel and I will be talking about different topics in the various theatres. We will be launching a new IT project that we've got that makes it really nice and easy to design or kind of do drawings for things like showers and ramps. So we'll be launching that at the show. We'll have some card games that you can play to look at the DFG process. And we've got one last box of DFG guidance booklets that we found when we were clearing out the office. So if that's not enough to tempt you, we've got one last box of DFG guidance booklets to give out on a first come first service, first come first served, one only, last offer, and then they're all gone. They're all gone then. So please do come and see us at the NEC for the OT show at the end of November. Right.
Foundations Live.
Right. So thank you to Rachel for joining me today and going through the competency framework. All the links are there in the chat on the website now for you to go and peruse and have a good look at. And I said there will be more competency frameworks added to that as we go forwards. And CPD Me will be available hopefully early in the new year. We're just working on developing that at the moment. So the other exciting thing that we've got coming up before the end of the year is that the DFG Champions Roadshow have been shortlisted for Trade Show of the Year with the British Health Trades Association Awards. So we'll be heading to, I think, Sheffield at the start of December to see if maybe we've won an award. But I thought I would leave you with a little video that we've done that shows you a bit behind the scenes of what it's like to come to a roadshow if you haven't been to one before. So I will leave you with Roadshow, and we'll see you again next week for an OT Week special.
Hear new ideas, see what's new. Take home tips that work for you. From DFGs to getting it done. Road shows teach while having fun. Meet new people, make a friend. Share your story, start a trend. Swap your notes and learn the game. Different councils, same big aim. Roadshow, come and see. Roadshow, it's where you'll be. Roadshow. Blow your mind.